Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how to go through the MTSS Flowchart in the Shakopee MTS Handbook. A couple of things to note from the beginning is that any of these boxes that is colored in red contains a link. So you could click on those boxes to take you somewhere that hopefully would be helpful for you. Most importantly, we always start at the top when we're looking at this flowchart. The top gives you the Tier 1, which are the diagnostics that are given for all students. The 80% refers to the fact that 80% of students should be successful with good, solid Tier 1 instruction. Now, not all students, though, are going to be successful with that Tier 1 instruction. When we do identify student concerns with those diagnostics listed in that top box, we're going to go to the PLC or grade level team to decide on any other diagnostics that we might want to go through to see if that student can be successful in Tier 1. If we decide that we want to do an intervention for a specific student, then we're going to go down to this box and research interventions and determine who will be involved in that intervention. Because this box is red, I could click on that box. It'll actually take me to a folder of helpful interventions in our Shakopee Google Drive. Now, as a team, if you decide we found a good intervention, then you could go straight to Tier 2 and implement that intervention. Make sure that you are documenting it with data. No intervention is a true intervention unless it's being tracked with data regularly. If after 6 to 8 weeks of that Tier 2 intervention, you're finding that the student is actually catching up to peers and this intervention seems to be successful, then you can determine whether you want to continue with the intervention or just stop the intervention and continue to monitor the student. Now, as we know, it's not always that smooth, but that is the most direct route through the flowchart. Let's take another situation. We're finding there's a student who is showing some academic concerns with Tier 1 instruction. Our PLC and grade level team decide on and carry out some further diagnostics. We research interventions, but we can't find a good intervention. That's when we would go over here and we would consult with other colleagues, or we might make a referral to the I-team and set up a meeting. Within that I-team referral and meeting, we would come up with a Tier 2 intervention that we think is going to be best for that student. Now, if that Tier 2 intervention is successful, then again, we would have to choose if we're going to continue or stop the intervention. However, if that Tier 2 intervention is not successful, in other words, if we've done that Tier 2 intervention for 6 to 8 weeks and the student is not catching up to peers, in fact, they're falling further behind their peers, then at that time we have to make a decision whether we're going to say, you know what, that probably wasn't the best intervention, so we're going to go up here and consider a different Tier 2 intervention. After researching some interventions, we can go and try a new Tier 2 intervention. Or we say that was a good intervention for this student, but it's just not working for them. It's time for an I-team follow-up meeting. In that follow-up meeting, you might decide, hey, there's probably a better Tier 2 intervention. Let's try another Tier 2 intervention. Or as a team, you might decide that we're going to go with a more intense intervention for that student, so we're going to go to a Tier 3 intervention. Anytime that you are doing a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 intervention, though, make sure that you're letting your facilitator of the I-team know that, just so that if you do have to refer for the I-team in the future, they'll already have an idea of what's been happening. Thank you, and I hope this was helpful. As always, Shakopee's mission statement is in partnership with our community, we will educate lifelong learners to succeed in a diverse world. As always, in partnership with our community, Shakopee Schools will educate lifelong learners to succeed in a diverse world.